everyone, and welcome to the Social Slam podcast. I am your host, Alex, and with me is, as always, Cobra. Say hi, Cobra.
Hello, everyone. I am the man they call Cobra, as you all know. Thank you for having me on the podcast once again, Alex.
For sure, and we have a lot to talk about in terms of WrestleMania season as we are winding down the last few weeks of the season. We're about 2 or 3 weeks from WrestleMania. So we're going to talk about the big news from SmackDown, the contract signing that went into complete turmoil between CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. Of Seth telling CM Punk he didn't deserve the main event at WrestleMania, and Paul Heyman is the CM Punk guy now, and has disregarded Roman Reigns and what his wishes are in the WWE.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the Paul Heyman CM Punk dynamic always works well. Roman Reigns definitely has had his time in the sun, definitely worked on his character as the tribal chief. But it was time for Paul Heyman to move forward, especially considering the catastrophic failure of a loss that Roman Reigns suffered against Cody Rhodes last year at WrestleMania. And not only that, but it also seems like Roman's momentum has fallen as the tribal chief, being eliminated or being removed from the bloodline, which to be fair, thank God. But also, with Seth Rollins being there, Seth Rollins always being a thorn in the side of CM Punk. They usually do not like each other at all. Um, so this is going to be a very interesting match. Although I do want CM Punk to main event WrestleMania one of these years. Obviously, last year he couldn't because he tore his bicep. I think that's what it was. It was a bicep tear.
That
And
or tricep.
it was bicep or tricep. It's one of the two. He had to wear an end loader brace on his arm to let it heal. But other than that, CM Punk deserves a main event at WrestleMania one of these days. Unfortunately, right now we have this huge going on, and we're gonna get to that right immediately soon, right, Alex?
For WrestleMania or
For WrestleMania.
yeah, this WrestleMania is going to be a very interesting weekend because there's a couple big wrestlers being left out of the main event. Obviously, the big one is main event Jey Uso fighting Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship being completely axed out of the main event of WrestleMania with the Tiffany Stratton match and the Rhea Ripley match might main event the first night. So a lot of names being snubbed out of main event, especially Jey Uso trying to win his first singles title in his entire career against a big opponent who's lost before to guys the size as Jey Uso like Sami Zayn and so on and so forth. So a lot of big names being left out, but it should be a fun and exciting Vegas weekend with Stand Delivered being Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And it should be a fun overall weekend. And hopefully we get some title changes. If not, we'll see what happens with the John Cena thing. And if CM Punk can get over that hump of main event WrestleMania and trying to get back into the title picture and trying to win another one before he retires eventually or dies trying because he's so old and so battered and beat up from years of trauma and just bodily harm to his body.
Exactly. For a lot of people who don't know, yeah, that ring hurts. That ring legit hurts. It will definitely wear and tear your body. But getting to Jey Uso and Gunther, um, this was obviously a hey. They recognize that you won the Royal Rumble. However, we just have too many storylines that are too huge, per se, and the reaction to Jey Uso winning the Rumble has not been good, and I see that WWE got cold feet, especially because of the Jimmy and Jey Uso WrestleMania match last year that was the worst on the card and potentially one of the worst WrestleMania matches ever. So they definitely got cold feet. Even though Jey Uso did deserve a Rumble win, it is it is you can add Jey Uso to the list of Royal Rumble winners that will not only main event WrestleMania, but not go for the WWE title.
Oh yeah, for sure. Jey Uso has worked too long as a tag team and winning too many tag titles, and I think this is kind of too late to push him over the hump for singles title. Because I feel like he's been too involved with the bloodline and trying to team back with Jimmy, which you saw, last week when they fought 8 times down under, the most dreadful tag team I've ever seen ever. My God, I hate those two. But it seems like they've waited a little bit too late to push Jay over that hump of main event stardom and championship stardom. That the main event part of his name is kind of fading out from his title.
And to be fair, he did it to himself. To be fair, Jey Uso unfortunately has had some demons follow him. He had a DUI. He's had some drug issues, some other issues as well. I think it's either him or Jimmy that had domestic abuse charges filed on him. I can't remember which one it was, but he has some baggage. That's also probably the other reason why. It's possible that Jey Uso is probably the modern day equivalent of Jeff Hardy. Too many demons. It's a great talent, but just the demons are too scary to want to push forward. It's a trust issue in wrestling. Is you know whenever you're wrestling, you want to make your main goal is always to protect the wrestler you're working with. Even if you hate their guts personally, you want to work a good match while protecting them. So it doesn't end up looking bad on you. You want to look safe, you want to look safe so that other wrestlers want to trust you. That's one of the reasons why Stone Cold Steve Austin never worked with Owen Hart ever again. Um, but again, point still stands. If Jey Uso had this much baggage and we put the belt on him, and this crops back up, this looks bad on WWE. So they can't really pull the trigger on Uso per se. That's why they're giving him Gunther, in my opinion, of course.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that, and I also feel like this is a major problem within the WWE. A lot of wrestlers have outside troubles with the law, alcohol, and drug abuse that it's impacting them in the ring. And I was even seeing it with a lot of wrestlers back then, but it's now affecting people now. Jeff Hardy, Jimmy J. Uso, Matt Riddle, and so on and so forth that have been fired and shadow banned from TV and ever coming back because of allegations that never happened or arrests that impacted their career forever. And obviously, Jeff Hardy has recovered. He's been sober. He's been back in the ring again and actually doing well to be tag team champions with his brother. But this could derail Jay in a bad light in terms of WWE, and Triple H is running the company pretty well, better than what Vince could probably ever have done in his entire time owning the company, because we're actually getting champions that we deserve instead of champions that we don't deserve, like Jinder Mahal and God knows Charlotte Flair's another title reign because she's a Flair, so we had to put the belt on her. It's ridiculous what's
Or
happening.
or God forbid, give the title belt to the Great Khali.
Oh yeah, and
God
it's something
forbid that.
interesting. Something interesting that Charlotte first said if John Cena was to break her dad's record, she would break his own record and break John Cena's record and wrestle beyond and win more than 18 championships because 17 because Cena's going with 17. So it seems like Charlotte Flair is never going to retire until she breaks the record if John Cena does happen to win at Mania against Cody Rhodes, which I hope to God not, because I want Charlotte Flair to retire and just go away, because I'm tired of her coming back for no reason and leaving, and then coming back for no reason because her dad's Ric Flair.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Charlotte Flair needs to become a part timer. Like, I could care less about her, but there's too many good female talent nowadays. That is like, oh, you bring in Charlotte Flair, oh, she's gonna be, plopped into the main event spotlight and turn into this absolute, not no one can stop her. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I agree with you on that, Alex. Just go away after this year, turn into a part timer in case of emergency, break glass, show up at the Rumble, be in great shape, don't, and please, for the love of God, don't turn into Tammy Sitch.
Oh yeah,
No one needs
and
another Sunny.
there are better opponents for Tiffany Stratton than Charlotte Flair. The women's division is stacked in the WWE at the moment. They have so many top women talent that deserve pushing to the main roster and pushing for big championships, that they're not doing it because either they're scared or they don't think it's gonna work. But Leia Valkyria right now is working. She's the United States, I think, the women's international championship. She has had a great title reign so far, being called up from the NXT, and she's one of the limited NXT talents that are women that haven't been completely buried and wiped out the face of TV that has worked. Her and Tiffany Stratton have both worked from NXT to the main roster, and we need more of that. And I hope Roxanne gets to that point, and all these NXT women get to that point of going for Tiffany Stratton, going for Rhea Ripley, going for Io Sky, going for these big championships. They have what it takes, and Roxanne does, Leia Valkyria does, Tiffany does, and probably Jada Parker too, for crying out loud. She is great at NXT. She deserves a big push, and I hope WWE does this right, because they're gonna kill off the women's division eventually. And have too many people like AEW has too stacked a women's division, not enough champions, not enough championships to spread the wealth. Because Mercedes Moné over there with 6 belts, 5 belts, whatever it is absurd and shouldn't be happening. And I hope they fix that, because I don't like her with all those belts. It's too much baggage for her. Way too much.
It's going to get to a point with the women's division. They're just going to be on their own brand. All right. That's how good this is getting, to be fair. And I will say this openly. That's also my big fear too, is because they're so good. I'm afraid they'll get lost in the shuffle if they end up doing that. If they end up making a completely separate brand for just the women, I think that would be a mistake, but it might end up happening. I do agree with you as well. There's a lot of talent in NXT as well. That it was just seeing them wrestle down there was amazing. I want to eventually see it live one day. I watched the match. This was a couple months ago. Before I started my new job, I watched a match with Bailey returning to NXT to help out the younger division, and it looked great. That's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, the women's division, top tier. Uh, Try not to screw it up, and regress to the divas mean, if that makes sense. Uh, I want more of what's going on right now. However, I'm fearful tonight that the writers will screw it up because they're writers. But
So
that's my opinion.
basically, you're saying that you're afraid we're going to go back to the women's evolution of WWE back in 2012, when they had all these NXT call ups become their own
Mm,
like tournament. No?
th- uh, to be fair, there does need to be the Mae Young Classic does need to return. All right, I do want to see that. I do also want to see the women's evolution pay per view. I as well. What I don't want to see is them regressing further from the women's evolution. I don't want them to regress down to Attitude Era women's wrestling or the Divas era of attitude of women's wrestling. That's my big fear because even Kat said it. That that style of women's wrestling really turned her off as a huge wrestling fan that she was because it was softcore porn.
Oh yeah, we've mentioned it before on this podcast with everything that happened with Edge and Lita with the celebration sex scene on TV. Most cringy thing I've ever seen a video of because I didn't watch it live. I watched a video of it and I was like, "What is this? And why are we doing this? And why are we doing mud matches and headless hair matches and women in bikinis because they're sexy?" And they, what are we doing here? Like they sexualize Mickey James and Lita and Tiffany and Trish Stratus and even Natalia now. The ring gear she has now is all up here. It's all showing all up here. Like you can look at her and it's like one thing comes off and it's gone. Like her whole chest is just out on TV. Like it's insane. And I'm afraid Strident's gonna go into that as well. She has tiny pants and tiny tops that like because like I watched So
Yeah,
Luca's match in NXT live and her top popped out because she didn't move and her top came open like live and I was like, oh my god,
they
like, what? Wait, don't do
they
this.
need they need to widen the attire a little bit more. I'm seeing a lot of it's suffering from Nomura syndrome, if that makes sense. If you don't know, Tetsuya Nomura, creator of Kingdom Hearts and you know, designer for Final Fantasy VII and other Final Fantasies. It's like like he had an obsession with belts. I'm talking about actual regular belts that hold up your pants. Um, that's what it reminds me of as far as the women's attire. Like, there's so many instead, I'm like, widen the material a little bit so it's less likely to see stuff. Less likely to have a wardrobe malfunction. You know, women's wrestling attire can be sexy and form fitting. You know, it can work. You don't have to show so much of the bust. Something bad is gonna happen. You know, and we saw it a couple times.
Yeah, it's nonsense because the men can wear pants and jackets and be shirtless in the ring and there's no problem. But the men and women steps in the ring, we have to make them look like strippers and make them
Yeah,
look like they're more appealing than they actually are because they're wrestlers. And on TV, we have to push for views, even though there's a 12-year-old watching TV and their parents are like, "What are you watching this
the
for?" Because I had that problem as a kid. My mom was like, "Why are you watching
Alex,
women if they're all can do it?" Mm.
the number one thing that sells anything is sex. Sex sells. Period. But we do need to get away from the women's division for a minute because we got to get into the biggest morsel of past couple weeks, right? And that would be the man himself, the biggest man, in this whole entire storyline. China.
I think
We
calling
saw
John Cena.
we saw him finally address his attack on Cody Rhodes. We finally got to hear his heel promo. We also got to see pretty much him not giving the fans what they wanted, which was different attire and different uh music. Alex, you know,
But
you start us off, man.
when I first watched Raw after he turned on Cody, I think it was at the Chamber, at the Elimination Chamber. I was like, okay, he's gonna probably be like the original John Cena, the hustle to respect John Cena, and then slowly devolve into the heel John Cena. But no, he just fully said, "Screw all you guys. You didn't respect me at all for 20 years. You booed me. You chewed me. You ate up the fake persona that I was, and this, that, and the third, and I can see all you marks out there and pointing at everybody, and that's why we got the kid with the facial expression meme because he pointed at him in the front row, and I was like, oh my god, stop talking, and I was like, Cody Rhodes, come out please, because I'm tired of hearing him blame the fans for not liking him when we cheered for him when he won championships. We were shocked when he came back in 2008 Royal Rumble when he was supposed to be out for like a year, but he was out for like 8 months with the tricep injury, bicep injury, whatever it was. So like he was just devolving into just like blaming everybody around him for why he turned heel and basically said like, yeah, my championships meant nothing to you because everything was about me and me being me and make a wish and all this stuff was just a game and you guys believed it and you guys ate it up because you're dumb and you know more graphic than that, but you get what I'm trying to say. It disgusted me and I was like, ugh, stop talking, shush.
But it worked. But it worked.
Yeah, I
You
still hate
get
him.
it? Yeah, but it worked. That was beautiful. You know, I his promo after Elimination Chamber was perfect. His the press conference afterwards where he just removed the mic from the mic stand, picked it up and dropped it. Perfect. Then waited a week, to let Cody Rhodes, spew out some of the venom that he felt after that day. You know, when it came out, the entrance he gave, I'm like, that was going to be, I thought that was the perfect tell that this was going to be a great heel turn, was the way he reacts at his entrance. Like, he looks like a person who has completely id-gaffed all over, all over the fans. Like, I don't give a fuck what you have to say now or then. This is how I'm going to be, moving forward. Yeah, you cheered me, but I'm going to do everything I can to crush your hopes and dreams. You want, brand new attire. You want me to show up in a suit? Screw you. You want me to show up with a brand new entrance theme? Screw you. You want me to change my entrance? Screw you. Like it was perfect. You know, him devolving into the um I'm not the one. I'm not the victim here. You are. I'm not the one who beat my wife. My wife ran into her fist type of mindset, That's what John Cena pretty much did. And Cody Rhodes again, spot on a rhetorical spot on retort to promo was, I don't want this John Cena that I'm seeing. I want, the other John Cena. And then the next week happened, and it was like, yes, this is the best way I can describe it. This is what happens when John Cena blends Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Hollywood Rock, and then merges it with the first couple years of John Cena, you know, prototype John Cena, the chain gang soldier type thing. The one that everyone hated because it was being pretty much Vanilla Ice. Which everyone still hates. But he whipped that all into a blender, gave that as a milkshake, gave it to the fans and say, here you go. Here's my heel turn. Here is how my heel persona is gonna be. I'm still John Cena, but now I'm the most bitter, vengeful spirit ever. I love every second of it. That is classic heel. And all I gotta say is I'm anticipating WrestleMania. I hope the match delivers as well as the promo. Like I say, because uh I have seen the bad long form storytelling. I have seen I have seen great promo, great build up, great everything. Then the bell rings. You know, all I gotta say is this WrestleMania, and the main event between Cody Rhodes and John Cena better not be Sting, Hulk Hogan, Starrcade '97. Best comparison I can give.
I feel like that also can relate to when Bray Wyatt, RIP to him, fought Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell in that weird red lit uh, match. It was great, great promo, great build up, great storyline, and then the match just underdelivered because the cage is one thing we can't see anything through the cage. It's another thing
Why did they
where
make the
it's
Hell in a
dark.
Cell red?
Yeah, they made yeah, I think they made the cage red and then it was red lighting. So I'm like, so you expect me to see everything that's happening to the cage where it's just camouflages with everything? And then like the match was ended by I think rough stoppage because Bray got injured or Seth got injured and like well, we can't be doing it anymore. I'm like, what is this? Not to mention with Randy Orton and the Great Khali and the weird Pujami prison match, that was a great storyline and a good build up with a match that was stupid, dumb, and was to never be put in a ring ever again. Because that no, I do not need to look through 6 cages of bamboo just to see 2 wrestlers escape through a tiny little door that's gonna be open and then quickly wins because Jinder Mahal helps him because they're buddies apparently. It was just weird. There are a lot of weird matches that had great build ups and great storylines, but dumb, stupid matches that I never want to see happen ever again in any company on the planet.
Right, right. But like I said, we got your opinion to John Cena's reaction. You got mine. I loved it. We Before we get to AEW news, I was just scrolling through the internet looking at the WWE Hall of Fame. Uh, we currently have 4 inductees. You know, uh we have Triple H, who was the first inductee announced. We have Michelle McCool. We have the total package, Lex Luger, and we have the natural disasters, earthquake and typhoon. There is another name being considered, um, and in my opinion, he is long overdue. He was, and considering TKO's merger, I'm surprised he hasn't been considered. And that is the world, the most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. Uh,
About time.
what's up?
About time. I've been waiting for him to get inducted
Uh,
because he has the resume for sure.
Yeah, not only the resume, being an intercontinental champion, being part of the most iconic match of the Attitude Era, and that would be Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13. Uh, he is also he also has other world championships as well. He is also TNA's first world champion, the NWA TNA world champion. He is the first one. Um, he was also, he's also done Lions, a lot of great matches for WWE as well. The Lions Den match with Owen Hart. He had another one with Owen Hart as well, in the Hart Dungeon. Awesome. Um, part of a lot of great moments in wrestling. Yeah, Ken Shamrock definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. If that rumor is true and they're considering him in the Hall of Fame, um, I am all for that. Um, if and Alex, the floor is yours. If you were to induct a couple more people into the Hall of Fame, 2 more, um, who would you put in?
I would probably put in Chris Jericho, no matter how old he is, no matter how active he is. At some point in time, WWE needs to put him in the Hall of Fame before someone else puts him in their Hall of Fame because of the resume he has. Obviously, WWE a list of championships, overseas a list of championships. In the indie scenes, he has so many championships, and he's never talked about and rumored to be in the Hall of Fame because obviously Rey Mysterio is so active. He's a Hall of Famer. They announce him as a Hall of Famer every time he comes out of the tunnel. So, like, the active wrestlers are in the Hall of Fame. In WWE or not, they're in the Hall of Fame. And Chris Jericho still is crazy. And then the other one, I'm not sure if he's in the Hall of Fame or not. He should be, though. I believe that Mr. Kennedy should be in the Hall of Fame. Even though he has a small resume,
Oh, no,
I
no, no, I'm gonna stop you right there. Stop. I'm gonna mic check you right there. Like seriously, I will grab my mic stand right here and mic check you nuts. No, you are not putting Mr. Kennedy Anderson Kennedy. Hold on. Kennedy. Yeah, no. Not Mr. Kennedy into the Hall of Fame. So, if it were me, I uh, would put in because I'd put in Big E. Like it's definitely confirmed that he's probably not going to wrestle ever again. He pretty much confirmed he will not step into. He probably won't step in the ring ever again. Not not because his neck can't take it. His neck can take it. According to him, they've done the stress tests on his neck. Back to form, but he's enjoying the retired life. So Big E in the Hall of Fame, I'll take it. And probably the other one that would probably be a bit of a stretch, but you know, would probably would be considered. Um, it's time to go to the motherfucking dojo because we need Steve motherfucking Blackman. That's if someone that is a reference that you probably don't know, wrestling bios. Basically turns Blackman to a meme. I gotta get that shirt, the motherfucking dojo. Hilarious.
So are you putting Biggie in the Hall of Fame by himself? Or are you putting him in the Hall of Fame with the New Day because he doesn't have that many singles titles to his name? He has most of his titles with the New Day. So we put New Day in all together or just Biggie by himself?
It would have to be the New Day altogether, but the New Day heel heat has to severely cool because they got to
So,
get back to the good graces because, like, seriously, the heel heat that they got, like, that was Dominic Mysterio type of heel heat.
oh, yeah. And it worked better for the Street Profits. Street Profits going heel worked way better than New Day because they actually did something with it. They're tag team champions now. They are, battling, I think, Motor City Machine Guns at some point. I think that's the next opponent up for the Profits. Like, the heel turns happen with good people. And I've been wanting the Street Profits to go heel or Monsters 4 to separate, go win a singles title. So I'm glad they pulled the trigger now on it because it's working. They haven't won a tag team title since I think 2016, 2017. So it's been 10, 11 years since they've last won a tag team champion. So this is a big step for the Street Profits. And if they just did it with the New Day, it would have worked so much better. But no, they decided to have the New Day roast Biggie for not being with them when he had a broken neck and he couldn't do anything for 6 to 8 months, and abandoning them on the main roster when he didn't do anything. Like, if I broke my neck and I was a trio like that, I'd be like, yeah, I couldn't be there for you guys, but like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. I was bedridden and doctors visits more times than I could count to get my neck fixed. So it's like some heel turns work for tag teams, some don't. The New Days just didn't work. Was the wrong time at the right moment. It was the wrong time at the right moment, and it failed miserably, and it's devolving really bad, and it's not working for them, and they need to fix it. I don't know how, but they need to fix it because it's not working.
Right. Um, so interesting. So let's go into one final segment before we get ready to sign off. Um, so interestingly enough, has very interesting rumblings happening in AEW. Uh, the Owen Hart Memorial Cup is happening in AEW. It's it's what I consider their version of the King of the Ring. Um, However, done a lot better, more tasteful, and also has the blessing of Owen Hart and Owen Hart's family, I should say. Excuse me, because obviously it doesn't have the blessing of Owen Hart. Owen Hart, unfortunately, was tragically killed in an accident. Um, in an in ring accident, I should say. Um, and also Kevin Knight, uh, signed with AEW. From New Japan Pro Wrestling, so that's very interesting. And let's see what else happened in AEW. Uh, hmm, Soraya, aka the Soraya is no longer with AEW, but she's potentially due for a return back to WWE. Uh, Interesting enough to see the return of Paige.
I hope so.
Alex, yeah. To be fair, I think Soraya, is more of a WWE type of wrestler per se than AEW. There's a different style to it. Um, but you know what? Before, like I said, there's one opponent. Getting back to John Cena. Because again, he's going to be what we're going to be talking about for probably the remainder of this year. There's an opponent who John Cena could face in this year who might be a big surprise, and I hope to see him again in WWE. And all you got to do is say his name, and he appears.
You son of a gun.
Joe
No.
Hendry versus John Cena would be awesome. Joe Hendry versus John Cena would be awesome, and you know it, Alex. You know it.
I thought you were gonna say like CM Punk, Randy Orton, The Rock, or like someone else that's been a history of John Cena and like the history of his time in WWE. Not some. I mean, he's TNA World Champion, but like he only knows John Cena because he talked to him like twice and like got him into like wrestling. I'm like, what? But like,
But
why?
that would be perfect. But that would be so perfect. Like somehow Joe Hendry trolls John Cena and costs him the title or something like that. Like some random bullshit.
On the topic of John Cena opponents, Kurt Angle was a big topic of discussion of being
He
John
can't do it
Cena's
anymore.
opponent.
He
He can't
can't
do it
do
anymore.
it anymore.
He said on Chris Van Lee's show he can't do it anymore. He has too many neck injuries, and he did a wrestling commercial, and he blew out his back like in that commercial. So people are like, "Oh, Kurt Angle, Kurt Angle, Kurt Angle," because he was John Cena's first match when he was the prototype, and that's where the slap came with the losers aggression. It was started the whole John Cena losers aggression era. But he can't do it anymore. And if he, in my opinion, Kurt Angle should induct John Cena into the Hall of Fame. His first opponent, his
Agreed.
first time in the ring. Have an Angle put him in the Hall of
Angle,
Fame.
Kurt Angle wanted John Cena to retire him, but he was in a freaking program with Baron Corbin.
Gross.
So
Gross.
he wanted him to retire. Kurt wanted John Cena to retire him. Like literally, he wanted John Cena to retire him, and Vince was like, "Nope."
Now, obviously, we know Kurt Angle can take pain like that. He broke his neck and won a gold medal at the Olympics. But, like, he's too old now. The Olympics, Kurt Angle was, like, 23, 24-year-old Kurt Angle. Now we're talking about, like, 60-year-old Kurt Angle that has multiple neck injuries, a back problem, knee
Hey,
problems, and
yo,
things too old for him.
he's not that old. He's not 60.
He
He's not 60s. He's like his early mid 50s. He's
50s? Oh,
yo.
well. Not everyone is Ric Flair. Not everyone can have 25,000 retirement matches and not die because of it.
That's Terry. That's Terry Funk. That's Terry Funk.
I'm sure that I've seen another
Yeah,
Ric Flair retirement match. Is that like four of them? I'm like, oh my god, stop. You're too old.
yeah. But again, that was Terry Funk having 25,000 retirement matches. Anywho. Um, but yeah, imagine Joe Hendry versus John Cena. I mean, yeah, it sounds as ridiculous as the Hurricane versus the Rock, but the Hurricane beat the Rock. It happened.
That's like as crazy as saying The Rock versus Hornswoggle and Hornswoggle winning.
You know,
That's your
that
mindset with this.
that would be hilarious too. Uh,
But I want to see Paige back
anywho,
in WWE, knowing all the AEW stars way back would be like Ray Phoenix and Aleister Black might be coming back late April. April 25th, I think. It's like the rumored day he's gonna come back.
hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. I thought Aleister Black was a lot better in WWE than he was as Mal Black.
Well, yeah, because he won. He was the NXT champion. He was by himself. Now with the ridiculous faction who did nothing in AEW, who's been kind of like shadow banned off TV.
yeah, pretty much. Uh, anywho, I think that's it. I think that's all we got left to talk about. Do you agree?
I definitely do. We talked a lot, and next time we'll be seeing you guys will be probably like a week before WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be here a week before WrestleMania. But before we sign off, we would like to remind everyone that the Social Sports the Social Slam podcast, a product of the Social Sports Pad Podcast Network, was brought to you by Bulletproof Coffee. You know, I like to enjoy coffee. Also like other products. Also like other products that make me feel well about myself. You know, a better you, of course, starts with the right fuel, and Bulletproof Coffee has the fuel you need. Whether it be coffee, whether it be greens, whether it be MCT oil, college ads, and other, protein bars and other supplements to get you feeling your best. But don't just trust me and take a word for it. Use our affiliate link in the bio wherever you get your podcasts. Show the channel some love. Try the products out for yourself. And hey, if you actually like them, why don't you build yourself a subscription box and get coffee, MCT oil, or other supplements delivered to your door, no questions asked. That is Bulletproof Coffee. The link is in the bio down below wherever you get your podcast. Yep, that's it for our podcast. Alex, where can you find our podcasts at?
Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast on, and also TikTok for however long that is a thing, thanks to the government being dumb and lazy for national security. But that's a different day, different
You
story.
know, it's national. It's a it's not national security unless they could profit off us, right?
Oh yeah,
Ah, not only that, but we don't just do wrestling; we do other sports as well. The Lap Down, our racing and NASCAR podcast. We also have the Dirt and Turf podcast, which is our baseball podcast. We have Biscuits and Penalties that Alex and I co-host as well. By the way, next week I will not be on Biscuits and Penalties because I will be on a weekend vacation. So Alex will be the main man that week. Alex is definitely excited. He's definitely earned the opportunity as well, being a great host here. So, please give him a listen when you do. And of course, we do have football coming up. Our football podcast, The Hard Count, will be coming back, as soon as the draft is over. I wanted to do a pre-draft show, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, hey, you piss with the cock you're given. Uh, so anywho, uh, Alex, I think that's all I had to say.
and we'll see you guys right before WrestleMania. And we have to step out of the ring because I hear the bell. Ding, ding, ding. Good night, everybody.